The world is a very big place, and over many generations of humanity, we've built bigger and better cities that boggle the mind and draw people towards them in order to enhance the area, as well as make even more beautiful things. In fact, it's a wish of many people to go to some of these cities, just so they can say they've been there and seen some landmarks, been to historical places, and more. But which ones are the best of the bunch? Allow us to show you the top 8 luxurious cities in the world. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Dubai, UAE. It may seem odd to some that Dubai, which is in the United Arab Emirates, is in the number 8 spot when technically speaking, it's the most luxurious city in the world, and emboldening that claim every single year that passes. The reason for this is that the city may be luxurious now, but it wasn't always that way. In fact, UAE has undergone a massive transformation over the last several years that coincides with its luxury. In short, they wanted to go from being a nation known only for oil to being a place that would bring in tourists from all over the world, which they did in spades once they put their minds to it. Dubai is now a place of grand architecture, many things to go and visit, and hotels that are decked out in opulence. In fact, they built things at such a pace that they started to run out of room, and thus had to build their own islands and bodies of water they had near the city so that they can build even more. The richest of the richest live in Dubai, and from the adults to the teens, they're never afraid to show off their wealth. Number 7. Hong Kong. At one point in time, Hong Kong was just Hong Kong. But then, it became independent and most importantly, one of the most luxurious places in the entire world. Hong Kong is literally a nation that's known for being a place people go to have fun, wine and dine in luxury, and more. You'll find an onslaught of 5-star hotels, restaurants, casinos, and more in order to ensure that people there have the highest amount of luxury possible. But that's not all. The nation is known for having one of the best malls in the world, perfect for people to go and shop until they literally drop. They have theme parks there of various kinds, and they appeal to all ages. It can be very expensive to go and live there, but if you're able to make it, you're in for quite a time. And if you don't believe us, ask some people who have been, and they'll tell you what happens there. Number 6. Sydney, Australia. If we're being honest, we could have put all of Australia on here, but in terms of luxury, you have to talk about Sydney. Easily one of the most famous places in all the world, Sydney, Australia is known for its beautiful beaches, landmarks, people, and history. In many cases, Sydney is the place that brings many people to Australia, as it's one of the biggest places to go. Thus, they arrive there and then branch out to the rest of the country. But Sydney is easily one of the best tourist places because of things like the Sydney Opera House. You also have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, Watson's Bay, the Rocks, the Sydney Tower, Darling Harbour, the State Library of New South Wales, the Royal Botanic Gardens, the Royal National Park, the Australian Museum, the Museum of Contemporary Art, the Art Gallery of New South Wales, the Queen Victoria Building, the Sea Life Sydney Aquarium, Taronga Zoo, Bondi Beach, the Blue Mountains, and Sydney Olympic Park. So as you can see, there's a lot to see down under. Number 5. Singapore. Singapore is another place that is steeped in the history of the world, and slowly transformed itself into one of the most luxurious, rich, and trend-setting places on Earth. Tourism is a major industry and contributor to the Singaporean economy, attracting 18.5 million international tourists in 2008, more than 3 times Singapore's total population. Singapore is the 5th most visited city in the world, and 2nd in the Asia Pacific. In 2019, tourism contributed directly to about 4% of Singapore's GDP, down from 2016, when tourism contributed directly and indirectly to around 9.9% of Singapore's GDP. Altogether, the sector generated about 8.6% of Singapore's employment in 2016. Well-known landmarks include the Merlion, Marina Bay Sands, Gardens by the Bay, the Jewel, the Orchard Road Shopping Belt, the resort island of Sentosa, and the Singapore Botanic Gardens, Singapore's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are special zoos and malls there, as well as architecture that ranks among some of the biggest in the entire world. So yeah, Singapore has a lot going for it, as you can see. Number 4. Los Angeles, California. When it comes to Los Angeles, you know a lot of what you're going to get when you arrive. For many, LA is the mecca of what it means to be living well in America. Because if you go there and make it big, you're going to get access to some of the most beautiful spots, the most beautiful mansions, and of course, some of the biggest parties in the country. And this doesn't even touch upon arguably the biggest fact about LA. It's where Hollywood is. Indeed, it is home to many celebrities and stars that you'd love to meet, and possibly could meet just by walking down the street. Many tourists go and find the Hollywood Walk of Fame to see their favorite stars and enjoy some of the classic LA scenery, go see a Lakers game, and more. The only reason it's not higher on the list is because, well, there's a dark side to LA. While many live in opulence, a lot don't. It's not a perfect city. Plus, the traffic sucks. Number 3, Tokyo, Japan. Heading now to the land of the rising sun, Tokyo, Japan is much more than a capital city. It's honestly its own world, and we mean that in the best way possible. Tokyo is known for its bright lights, exotic tastes, and people who can be anything from serious businessmen to cat girls. No, really, and more. The different districts of Tokyo help paint the many different ways the city and nation has evolved over the years. From vending machines where you can get almost anything, again, we're serious, to stores where you can play with cats all day, to karaoke bars, gaming arcades that'll blow your mind, and so much more. Go to Shibuya and you'll experience the Scramble Crossing, one of the busiest places in all the world. So yeah, Tokyo is a lot to handle, but that's why many people want to go and see it for themselves. Number 2, New York City. Call us biased, but there's a reason why the catchphrase of New York is, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. At one point in time, New York City was a gateway to the United States because it was, and still is, a major immigration hub. But now, New York proudly stands as one of many major cities in the United States where you can expect to find the rich, powerful, wealthy, and more. Just in terms of buildings, New York City has a skyline that few can match, not least of which is because of its historic buildings and landmarks like the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, the World Trade Center, and more. If you're a sports fan, New York has got you covered with the Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets, Rangers, oh yeah, and the Knicks. But the Nets are the better team right now. Living in New York City isn't easy, and it can be really costly even to get an apartment there. But many celebrities and business people shell out millions to get places like penthouses and even whole sections of tall buildings. New York City is culture, power, wealth, and diversity, which makes it very luxurious, don't you think? Number 1, Paris, France. There are a lot of ways to go and measure luxury, opulence, and wealth, but for many, the peak level of beauty and luxury can be found in Paris, France. A city that is famous for its landmarks, its art, its people, its food, and more, which is why it's a place that is frequently visited by tourists from all over the world. Paris is a city littered with history, and all you have to do is walk around in order to see it all. Or you can just look out your window to see things like the Eiffel Tower. Plus, there are plenty of French restaurants that will allow you to eat some of the best cuisine in Europe, which is another reason that people like to go there for the record. Now, yes, there are downsides to Paris, including people not always being super friendly and it being very expensive to live there. But to be in a place of such exquisite taste, culture, history, and beauty, it's worth the price. So, what did you think? What did you think of this look at various cities of the world that are truly known as luxurious in one form or another? Have you ever been to some of these cities that were on the list? Which ones do you hope to go and visit one day for yourself? Or do you know of another city that should have been on the list? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.